So, hello. This will be the English version of my previous video about nationalism, patriotism and ontology. As an example of some of the correct ontology, I gave the example of my surroundings, which are again the trees, because there is no such a thing like woods, like forest, deforest or whatever. Those are the woods or the forest are the concepts made by abstraction from individual concrete being. There is significant difference between two types of beings: the real existing beings, which have the real actus from Latin, from Saint Thomas Aquinas, the real existence. They exist outside our mind, and the beings that exist only in our minds. There is a difference. Those the second beings are called subjective or intentional. Subjective from subjectum, also from Latin, for a person, for a human intelligent agent, for a mind. And in the opposite, they are real. They are beings that exist in the reality. Real beings, real things. And those real things are always individual. There is one tree, one bush, one human, one cat, one bird, and so on. Or a couple of individuals, which are also called the trees. So you can say that 5 trees make a forest, but also you can say 10 or 100 make a forest. Because of that, the boundary of what is a wood, what is forest, and what is not forest, because of that boundary being very gloomy, very unclarified, that makes those concepts very relative and very dangerous, because you can justify almost everything. As for more human example, we have an individual person and a nation or a race. For the race could be defined by some characteristic like skin, like body structure, like maybe some other factors. But that doesn't go also to the nation. There are many definitions of the nation. What is nation? Some of them contains materialism, racism, like in obvious Hitler's case, or some of them are more, you can say, spiritual or maybe psychological, sociological. There are many concepts of the nation, but Still, that doesn't make the nation to be real, to be existing. There is no such a thing like the nation in the real world. As far as the concept of race may be useful in sociology or the science about different cultures, etymology or so on, as far the concept of nation is really absurd and useless. As long as you are liberal or libertarian or even anarchist, the concept of the nation has no value, and it objectively has no value, because values are so subjective. But the nation is more like sentiment, should be at least treat like something very subjective, and like the sentiment, like for instance, me liking ice cream or beef or I don't know, red color. This is the same category. You can't make a policy, a safe policy, peaceful policy, that is, even that will involve the concept of nation. Nationalism is an aberration, is an error, a very dangerous error. People cannot be separated into nations just like that, and saying that the nation has its own power, should have its own state, should have its own law, and so on. That's bullshit. Every human has universal needs. Every human, that's universal. For example, they have the need of food, they have the need of water, a need for security, for safety, for shelter, for love, etc., etc., and from private possession. That logically comes from that, because this private property secures all those previous things the best, all human needs, and provides the base, the fundament for social prosperity and so on. But that aside, the concept of nation is useless. It can only justify stupid policies, racist policies, or racist laws and so on. Separating humankind into nations can be only useful as in the terms of sociology and similar sciences. But those sciences, don't make any practical, and shouldn't make. If they do, they are going in the wrong direction. They don't do practical. Their goals aren't practical enough. It's about segregating, about gaining more knowledge, which is based on generalization, of course, on the induction, on the statistics. That can be useful to some degree, but not enough degree to make a solid government policy from that. A solid government policy, if there should be government at all, of course, should be universal enough to satisfy, to fill the gaps in the all human needs. Human, individual person doesn't need special treatment. The person requires the peaceful conditions, that the property of that person will be secured, and he will secure all the rest with himself, all by himself. He or she doesn't need that, doesn't need help of government. That is a different story in the welfare state, but that maybe I will make another segment about that. So basically, nationalism is, if not useless, then it's dangerous idea, as well as because nationalism is, we can define nationalism as the policy of making policy, government policy, based on the needs of the nation. And here there is assumption that the nation has its own needs that are something different from the needs of the individual, because the nation is given the status of ontological status of the real being, which isn't. The nation is not real. It's only abstraction. The nation, nor the state, can have desires, can have whims, can have goals, can feel, can act. Only individuals that may be segregated, may be put into the category of the nation or of the government, can do something. And we can't define universally, objectively, and without any doubt the nation. We cannot do that. The same goes, similar things goes for patriotism. Some say that nationalism is bad, okay, but patriotism is cool. It's not bad. It's actually kind of really beautiful, and so on, so on. I wouldn't disagree with that, but what is patriotism? What is the patria? Yes, the homeland. What is that exactly? Everyone has its own unique definition and feeling, because it contains the feeling towards some place. But it doesn't have to be, mind that, it doesn't have to be material space and time. It doesn't have to contain space and time. It can be only imaginary or imaginary place, even, or something else. And you can't deny, using objective arguments, that it cannot be imaginary things. There is no method to disprove or prove that your or my definition of homeland is better than anyone else, or is more true. There is no such a thing. The same goes the nation, the concept of nation, the concept of patria are kind of graved in each of our hearts. Everyone has its own definition of those things. You cannot do it universally, attempting to be unquestionable, to have unquestionable conclusion. there is no such thing like one definition of nation and homeland and so on. So, therefore, patriotism is more subjective even than the nationalism. We can justify everything by patriotism, of course, just like by religion, because this is really subjective matter. This involves human feelings, like sadness, like love, like compassion. So it doesn't just you can't make that objective. It still will be only the matter of your feelings, of this subjective realm of your mind, and so on. So I think it's all I went through to the main conclusion that the right or realistic ontology disproves the nationalism, patriotism, and also government and the state. There is no such a thing like the state, unless you will give a more accurate definition, which is that the state is when one group of people steal and rob and exploit other group of people. Then you have a state. So take care and goodbye.